Alright, so taking into consideration the developments in the recent Dragon Ball Super chapters, Goku has finally achieved a state of Ultra Instinct that is unique to himself and himself alone. Unfortunately, Vegeta once again, of course, ended up getting the short end of the stick despite his relentless vigor in this entire arc. Even with Ultra Ego, Vegeta just couldn't bag in a win during this entire ordeal, and we didn't see him even momentarily evolve his Ultra Ego form, unlike Goku, who was at least able to get a taste of what the next stage is during the 40-something minutes of the Tournament of Power. But that is precisely the thing. When Vegeta unlocks Ultra Ego, he seemingly already uses that second step. In fact, I'd say the two states, Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct, might only be similar in just name alone. And that is going to be the entire point of this whole video, the future of the Ultra Ego technique. Where does it stack up in comparison to Ultra Instinct, and what does it mean for Vegeta's character going forward? There will of course be a lot of speculation in this video since we don't know yet. I'm also looking forward to see what you guys have to say about this as well. In simpler terms though, Ultra Ego kind of feels like it's just a glorified repetition of the same destructive behavior we saw from Vegeta back in the Namek saga. At least that's the way it feels right now. Needless to say, this arc also left a lot to be desired when it comes to Vegeta's evolution. The coolest part of Ultra Ego though was its reveal. And now that the novelty had worn off, Ultra Ego just isn't in the same league as Ultra Instinct. And guys, I'm not talking about power scaling. What I mean is the portrayal at this point. On one hand, we have Goku completely dominating the spotlight during the Tournament of Power. Then on the other hand, we have Vegeta spontaneously reduced to a glorified kind of punching bag. We've always known that Vegeta had this weird tendency to always inflict some serious self-harm. Back in the Buu arc and even just recently in the Tournament of Power, he used himself as a nuke really. Naturally, such a raw and crude personality would be sabotaged by a dignified technique like Ultra Instinct, and Vegeta would lose that crudeness and trash talking altogether probably. Which is why something like Ultra Ego was a solid move. It properly established that both Goku and Vegeta do indeed have a fundamental difference when it comes to their inherent nature. That's why they don't need to follow the same paths. However, what makes it so painful is when you just keep getting hyped up by Vegeta tanking hit after hit, only for it to amount to nothing more than the usual Vegeta treatment for some reason. But believe me guys, and I feel like you should feel the same, I'm really optimistic about the future of Ultra Ego. We know that this entire arc, the endless beatings, the character conflict, everything centered around Vegeta's character is the testament to how Vegeta is not like Beerus and he doesn't have to be. And so what we'll be seeing next would be a true Ultra Ego form, something that's unique to Vegeta. The core reason for this goes back to how Beerus reprimanded Vegeta for feeling guilty about the destruction as he himself proceeded to destroy yet another planet. But of course, throughout his entire encounter with Granola, Vegeta became sentimental. Vegeta is not a destroyer. That's why an adequate amount of guilt is still somewhere within his heart. If he's to fully acquire and master Ultra Ego, he'd have to completely rid himself of that guilt. Just like how Goku completely rid himself of conscious action, which resulted in him acquiring Mastered Ultra Instinct during the Tournament of Power. But Vegeta can't do that. It's the reason why he felt sentimental toward Granola and then requested Goku to let him deal with Granola himself. Just ridding himself of the guilt would be the easy way out for this character, and it isn't about defeating Gas or Granola for that matter. He'd rather grow through the action of constant beatdown than strip himself of that guilt of his current sense of responsibility. But an evolution will happen eventually, right? Something that has a little bit more coherence with his true nature. Is this corny? It could be. But that is also a testament to Vegeta's development. He's not just a savage Saiyan beast or destroyer. He's Vegeta, a prideful warrior with his own set of principles. He wouldn't just rid himself of his guilt or sense of responsibility just to get a strength that doesn't even fall in line with his true sense of self. I mean, against Topo, he proudly declared that he's no weakling, unlike Topo, who would cast aside everything. Which is why I think when we actually see Vegeta use his own unique Ultra Ego, there probably wouldn't be a certain antagonist who absolutely deserves to be destroyed in that moment. Hopefully Goku would let him have a win when that time comes, but we know how this goes. For all we know, Vegeta may even skip the whole Mastered Ultra Ego or True Ultra Ego step altogether and come up with something that warrants a totally different name. In doing so, he'll carve a new path, not just different from Ultra Instinct, but also different from the supposed natural progression of Ultra Ego. I'm just calling Beerus's and Toppo's technique Ultra Ego because that's the name Vegeta has bestowed upon this state. But this also brings up another interesting point that may negate the previous one. Back when Ultra Instinct Goku first emerged, it wasn't him who gave it that name. No, the Ultra Instinct name was always a thing. On the other hand, while the destroyer power that Beerus spoke of and what we even saw Toppo use wasn't given a name, it was Vegeta who decided to give it a name. So following that logic, there really doesn't seem to be any need for perfected Ultra Ego, since whichever way he chooses to evolve it would be his natural progression of it. We gotta remember that Ultra Instinct is the Angel's technique, but Ultra Ego is not the Destroyer's technique, it's just Vegeta's. Just because the usage of this technique allows him to get stronger by tanking hits doesn't mean that this is the process Beerus went through. As I said before, I'm only speculating, guys, and I'm not stating anything for the future as fact, but I'm really excited for what this could imply for Vegeta's character. His solution wouldn't be as straightforward as Goku's. It would definitely require a few sleepless nights, to say the least. Which is why I seriously hope that the next antagonist is some kind of a ruthless narrative foil, since Vegeta would be fighting for the sake of protecting someone else. He can take the pride in that sense of responsibility and truly elevate himself, not just power scaling wise, but also metaphorically. Then again, Goku wouldn't forget that he's the main character to let Vegeta finally take a singular W, both literally and figuratively. It's just been so long since we've last seen this man actually own somebody. I think the last time he had a fight like that was probably against Frost, but can you even call that really conclusive? All it took was one punch and then the fight literally repeated itself during the whole Tournament of Power. Another important point I'd like to talk about goes back to Beerus' statement. As he grants Vegeta the symbol of destruction to put on his ear, he also tells Vegeta to prove the Destroyer's signature move is stronger than the Angel's technique. Of course, Whis goes ahead and assigns Goku a symbol too, but the recent development with Ultra Instinct also makes another thing clear to me. It isn't about whether the Destroyer's technique is stronger or the Angel's technique is better. It's more about Goku and Vegeta and their own unique pathways for mastering these techniques. It did take a while for Goku to fully understand and attain his own unique version of Ultra Instinct, but I don't think Vegeta needs that many arcs. In this saga, Vegeta fully expressed himself as he chose not to fight back against Granola's attacks. He apologized to Beerus by stating in his monologue that the power of destruction is beyond his own scope, so I don't think he's gonna be reverting back to his former callous self. Now, having realized all of this, what do you guys think the next arc should be about? I think an opponent that's the exact opposite of Granola, someone who's a direct narrative foil to Vegeta's current character, and someone who warns Vegeta to genuinely embrace his sense of responsibility as he ascends to that new state, is exactly what we need. I think he would do it by unlocking a strength more meaningful than true Ultra Instinct, and something that fundamentally required the masochism, the guilt, and all the subtle humiliation portrayed by his character in this arc. So what do you guys think about Vegeta simply owning the show for an entire saga? Honestly speaking, this is what I would like to see and how I would like Ultra Ego to develop for him. It's not even about if you're a Goku or Vegeta fan at this point, because in my opinion, our man Vegeta has more than earned the right to be the protagonist for an entire arc that involves the fate of all of those whom he holds dear. Only this time, there aren't going to be any monologues about using self-destruction or anything like that, and just once, Goku can get the Vegeta treatment just once in his stead, and I promise the world would not end, guys. It could happen one time.